when the DJ pulls up to the event and the client is waiting outside, the client just sees the DJ pull up with 8 different police officers following them. So when I think about jobs that I want to learn more about, one that I'm so excited to dive into, but so many people, like, it's not the first that comes to their mind when they think about underappreciation, is DJs.
100%.
And it's so fun, because then once you actually say it, it makes so much more sense. Because I feel like in movies, sometimes it's the butt of a joke of like, oh, you're dating a DJ. Like, I feel like I've seen that in a lot of movies. And I don't really get where that comes from or why. But it just makes me want to talk about it even more, right?
100%.
Yes. So, Branden, hi, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. You do have a DJ name, I hear, and
Yes.
I need to know what it is.
Galaxy.
DJ Galaxy.
Yes.
I love that. So, like, do you introduce yourself to people with your DJ name? Is that a thing? Like,
I don't.
okay. I don't know. I don't know how this works.
I don't, unless I'm in the space for what I do.
Okay.
So it's some kind of musical context, an event, whatever the case is. I just tell them I'm Branden. You know, I'm really modest with what I do. And if it's not about my job, I try to keep it, you know.
I feel that.
Like that.
I feel that so hard.
Yeah.
I love. So how did you come to like get into being a DJ? And I also want to know, like, what does it take to become one?
Okay. So I always tell people that I come into contact with, if they have a broad, you know, music taste, they're perfect for DJing. That's kind of the bottom line. So it's like, okay, yeah, I listen to a lot of heavy metal when I'm in the gym. When I'm cleaning, I'm listening to a lot of Spanish music. When I'm in the car, I might be listening to like hip hop. It's always something different, but that alone, you can kind of cater to a crowd, right? So that's the bottom line for me, at least. I think when it comes to what it takes to be a DJ, in terms of how I started, it's very full circle. I started dancing early in my life, and I was a break dancer. So I had a dance crew in high school, like the whole nine. We performed shows.
That's so cool.
We were on a local TV show in Orlando. Just all of it. We were really big on dancing. That's all we wanted to do, all we cared about. And then there were a lot of times where we would go to parties, events that all we wanted to do was dance, and the DJ sucked.
Oh,
The DJ,
yeah.
I'm talking about, it's like, oh, come on. What is, yeah.
Yes, they always say that when it comes to big events, especially weddings, the most important thing, the food and the DJ.
It's crazy. But the DJ is also the most underrated, because you'll see a lot of people at weddings like, oh, I'm just gonna play my Spotify. Or
I have a
playlist.
It's so underrated, but it's so important.
If I can give you one tip for a wedding, please make sure that your DJ is a DJ. You know what I'm saying? Is doing what he needs to do, because they narrate and curate the vibes of the entire event, and you don't really know this until it's too late. Until the wedding is happening, it's like, I wish I got a better DJ.
We've been to a lot of events where Avery and I just look at each other. We're like, we can't even understand what they're saying, or like the microphone is too muffled, or like
too loud, distorted.
Yeah, and it just kind of ruins it.
There's layers to this.
But sorry, go back.
No.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. But yeah, so that was my issue, and we had one DJ, which was ironically, he was a DJ for a lot of our school events. His wife also worked at our school. So, and that's how we kind of got into contact with him, but she was the sponsor for our group, because every organization in the school needed a sponsor. And put us in contact with him. After I graduated high school, I was like, I'm still dancing. I wanted to do music. I always wanted to do music, but I didn't know which way to go. And I was like, let me maybe kind of see where this goes. So I get into contact with him. We meet up one day at a local festival in the area. And he's like, you need a board, you need a laptop. When you get both of those, come talk to me. And I went, I downloaded.
What is a board? Like
a DJ board.
Okay.
Yeah. So DJ controller, DJ board. There's a lot of different.
Like a soundboard kind of thing. But it is
turntables.
Okay.
Yeah. That might be like how most people understand it. But this is a setup that you see people touching and all that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
The controller / board is an all-in-one thing, so you don't need as many things to get started. Got my board, got my laptop. And then we met. He started teaching me the ropes, the kind of the fundamentals of what to know, the DJ.
What would some of those fundamentals be?
So crowd, reading the crowd.
Okay.
Is a huge one. Transitions, music diversity, when to kind of change songs, because a lot of times you'll see DJs play 5-6 songs of one genre, and it's like, okay, let's switch it up. Kind of get tired of this. So there's little rules and tricks that you can do with stuff like that. So he basically showed me the ropes of those kind of techniques and tricks. I already understood music on a way that I can't really explain other than being a dancer, you know, just knowing counts and whatnot. And I say all that to say that he got me my first gig at an Applebee's. That was that was my first gig. Yeah, he had a residency. There's a few Applebee's in Central Florida that have DJs on the weekends.
I did not know that.
Most Applebee's you go to, it doesn't happen. I've only seen it in Florida.
Florida. Oh my
Florida
goodness.
Yeah. And that's kind of how I got started. I was doing, you know, fill-ins at his residencies, started doing parties, and you know, the ball starts to roll, and here we are.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's sorry, my brain is just like mind blown because here's a big question, and it always comes off so weird because when I ask it, I don't mean like, oh, so anyone can be a DJ, like it's so easy, but I mean more from like an accessible aspect. You know, you don't need like necessarily like a degree. It's something that like is really accessible to people who have like, you either have it or you don't. You know, you either like have the music taste, can read a crowd, because some people struggle with that, especially a lot of like, I'm neurodivergent. I know a lot of neurodivergent people struggle with people reading, but like if you have the skills, it's something that's really accessible to people, which is awesome, which is also something that I've been looking a lot into when looking at all these different professions of like what's really accessible and what's something that's a little bit harder to get into, like firefighters, and we talked about not too long ago, super accessible, but there's still a lot that go, you need a high school diploma or a GED.
Okay.
Which of course, you know, there's a lot of physical requirements that go into it as well, because the gear's heavy, but you know, just like, you know, you either have the music taste and crowd reading abilities or you don't. Like there's still skills that are required for these careers, but they're still a lot more accessible than like becoming a neurosurgeon.
Yeah. I completely agree.
And like, but there's so many different types of people that like listening. So I just like pointing that out when, you know, there's a lot of kids where, you know, college isn't for everybody. And it's not always, I don't like when schools are like, that's the way, you have to go. I always just like really pointing out like things that are a little bit more accessible that don't necessarily require a college degree. So
it's funny you say that because I was literally in college.
Really?
When I started. Yeah. I was going to school for, this was like 10 years ago.
Isn't it crazy that it feels like yesterday? And you're like, oh, it wasn't. It was not.
Don't even get me started. Yeah.
It was not.
It was like 12 years ago. It was something in music. The degree I was going for, music, audio engineering or something along those lines.
Oh, that's so cool.
Something along those lines.
I didn't even know that was a degree. That's awesome.
And it was just kind of to get into the realm of producing. And like I said, I always wanted to do music.
Yeah.
But then I kind of, in the meantime, I was like, I don't know. Let me start DJing. And then as I'm DJing, my grandma's like, you need to go back to school. You need to go back to school. Now my grandma's like, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so great.
Yes. So, I get that completely.
All that to say, like, again, you know, you said college might not be for everyone, but it isn't something very hard to get into. Yeah. I do think that adds to the stigma that it's like, oh, man, another DJ. Or another rapper, or whatever the case is. But
I had some SoundCloud rappers in my high school classes. I'll have to show you. They made me okay, I have to tell you this. I have to see if I can find it too. If I don't have it, I'm going to be devastated. I just remembered. So I gave my students a project once where they did absolute, what was it? No. For world history, it was absolute rulers. But then for American history, it was some of the founding fathers. Okay. Where they had to make songs. And I had two boys. They were assigned George Washington. Okay. And they really they were SoundCloud rappers.
So they took this
personally. They took this so seriously. I have to find it.
Please, send it to me when it's
Oh my gosh, I have to find it. It was, and was it perfect? The words were not all correct, but you know, it was still so good. And there was clearly so much effort.
It's compelling.
It was so good.
I have to see it now. Is it on YouTube? Is this
no? Okay. Because they were minors, so I couldn't post it.
Oh, for sure.
I'll look through my thing, and if we need to go back and edit it into the episode,
that would be hilarious.
Because they're not minors anymore. Yeah. This was a long time ago. This was my second year teaching, and they were sophomores, so they definitely graduated by now. I'll find it. Okay. If we need to edit it back in, we'll do a little stay tuned for. I'll play the first moment.
That'll be fun. I would pay to see that.
But it was so It was so funny. But yeah, sorry. I was an ADHD.
No, you're right. But that, again, like it just goes back to that same stigma.
Yes. Yes.
But the ones that obviously find a path in what they do, they separate themselves from everyone else.
So do you think that with, because obviously it can be a very saturated field because it's a little easier to get into, and there's some who really find their way and some that don't. Do you find in the DJ industry, like, is there a lot of camaraderie, or do you think there's a lot of like, I don't know exactly how to phrase it, but like side-eyeing, because you don't necessarily have colleagues that you would like be petty at work or anything like that, but do you find there's a lot of like clickiness, like any bullying, like anything like that in the DJ industry?
So, like, there's layers to it.
Okay.
So, like,
I'm ready.
Coming up, everyone is kind of on the same page. We're all trying to make it. We're all trying to figure it out.
Right.
But at the point that I'm at now, I can definitely say that I've seen where people are being a little slick here.
Okay.
Or their nose is in the air, like, it's weird, and it's not bold, it's kind of just like on the low, and you kind of pick it apart, but for the most part, a lot of the people that I have in the space, we're all on the same mission, and there's enough pie for everyone.
Yes, we were just talking about this when it comes to like even just the content world.
There's enough pie for everyone. I think where people find issues is obviously like when somebody has content that replicates yours very heavily, almost to the point where maybe they're copying exactly what you're doing. But other than that, I think, if you're doing what you're doing and you're successful in your own right, it's hard to find something to be negative about what someone else is doing.
Yeah. Especially when you're focusing so much on what you're doing.
I think if you're focusing on so much of what you're doing, it's very difficult to have energy to be mad about what someone else is doing.
Yeah, I feel that.
Especially if they're doing something good.
I like that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I see it because I get so many comments on the regular negative stuff.
Oh, yeah. People find so many things
No.
to be mad at. Okay.
I have people that just like, does anyone else not like how this guy looks?
What?
Just like, wait. What did I do to
the
you?
wrong sense. We're supposed to be listening and hearing.
Bro, I was like, what? Yeah, exactly. It's
so
like,
rude.
wait, listening to what I'm doing, but you're looking at me, and that's where you have the problem. I'm telling you, I almost wanted to do a YouTube compilation of the craziest comments I've received.
So I used to do Real Things Said in my classroom. That was my skit.
I'm gonna have to do it now.
I did Real Things Said in my comment section
I'm gonna
for a while, but they kept getting reported by the people who were mad I was posting their
I might blur out their names, but it's so bad, and I'm just like, dude, at this point where I'm at now, I quite literally, maybe for like the last 6 months to a year, I'll just be like, I'm sorry you feel that way, dude. I hope you have a great day.
Usually what I will do, like, I will take their comment and I will like reverse it into like them, but I'll never attack someone for like their appearance or anything like that. So if they were to say, does anyone hate how this guy looks? Like, I would probably like take that. Does anyone hate what this guy says? Like,
that's smart. That's smart. And my barber, wasn't my barber, or no, it was my tattoo artist. I told you I just got a tattoo.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, dude, I just delete stuff and keep it moving. And I'm like, I did, but I didn't want people to feel like they won.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to delete the comments. Like, I got to him.
Like, it's like, why would you go out of your way to be mean to someone? Yeah. Like, I want you to feel like you shouldn't keep doing that. I don't want you to just go on to the next person and like continue being mean. No, I want someone to call you out. No, I don't want someone to completely destroy your self-esteem.
Okay.
But I want I'm not going to sit there and like make fun of how someone looks. And I'm not going to sit there and like be like brutal and mean and cruel like that. I'm not a bully. But like, I want someone to make them think for a second of, oh yeah, maybe that was rude.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's why, because I literally do these positive comments, and then that's all I say, and then everyone comes in and is like, look at you, dude, you look dumb. Look, don't you feel stupid?
So
I love it. I'm just like,
I cannot. Oh my gosh. So then maybe based on what you just said, the answer might be no, and that's totally okay. We would prefer that.
Okay.
But a big theme that we've talked about in a lot of my episodes is that in many professions, there's always bad apples who ruin it for everybody else. There are teachers who maybe make decisions that they shouldn't, and then it becomes a stereotype for other teachers. There are definitely police officers who make awful decisions, and then it becomes a stereotype for everybody else. Same goes with hairstylists, nurses, firefighters.
Yes.
So, like, have you seen anything like that in the DJ world?
100%.
Oh, okay.
And
yeah.
I actually just seen this video. I re-saw this video. I don't even know if re-saw is a word, but
That's okay.
I witnessed this video a second time, and it's this woman that is DJing at some sort of festival, and she's doing all the DJ things.
All the things.
All the things, right? And if you're in the crowd, it looks like she's doing all the things
Right.
the DJ does. However, this angle that you're seeing the video from isn't from the crowd. It's from somebody behind her doing maybe some kind of promotional video for her. And if you look closely, she's quite literally pressing nothing half the time. If this is my DJ board and this is the button, she's making her own buttons. And that's just one aspect of why this video is so wrong. She's pressing buttons that don't exist. The board wasn't on.
Oh, so she was like a fraud.
Absolutely.
Oh my God.
And it sucks because, like you said, there's one person that ruins it for everybody. So people already think that I just press buttons. That all
You
I
just
do
push a play
I
button
just
and
press
you're good.
And or it's fake or it's pre-recorded. Even though I've proven to people, which I don't have the energy to do anymore, that it's not pre-recorded.
Right.
But she is reinforcing that idea. And on the other side, to play devil's advocate, what I've just learned within the last couple of years is that a lot of these major festivals, they quite literally require a lot of DJs to do a pre-recorded set because they run on time constraints. This DJ set is from 11 to 11:45. At 11:47, the next DJ's on. So you don't have time to kind of mix and do
Right.
stuff. So there are times with these bigger festivals
When it's recorded.
where it is pre-recorded.
But in general, like, and I know that there's going to be a lot of people who are like, well, what's the big deal? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like that takes out half the job, which is reading the crowd
Yes.
and like getting everything situated and doing everything on the fly based on how the crowd is
Yes.
feeling. Like that's what the job is supposed to be.
Yes, and to a degree, like it works and it doesn't, because when you see these big DJs, like when you think DJ Snake, Skrillex, Tiesto, all these big DJs, they have a certain sound or a certain expectation of what you expect from them. So a lot of times, honestly, it does make sense for them to do a pre-recorded set, but even the work that goes into that pre-recorded set is a lot. I'll give them the credit for that. However, when it comes to anything less than that or anything smaller, it's such a gray area.
Right.
You know, so there are moments where there's other DJs that kind of make it tough.
That makes sense.
You know, so yeah,
Think of- oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I mean, or if you want me to bring up something
Yeah,
else,
absolutely.
even like wedding DJs too is. And I have one reason I stopped doing weddings, but there is a lot of weight in a wedding. There's a lot of expectation, a lot of weight. It's probably one of the most professional things because you're leaving such a lasting impression.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of DJs do things they might do in other events, drinking, being too lax, stuff like that, where it can ruin the name for other DJs. So,
Well, someone sent me a story about how they kind of unintentionally ruined like part of the wedding.
Okay.
But no one knows. To this day, no one knows it was them. So this DJ was DJing a wedding.
okay,
And it was time to do the toasts,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, you know, the DJ obviously has his own microphone, gave one microphone to the maid of honor, gave another microphone to the best man.
okay,
Meant to turn his microphone down, accidentally turned the best man's microphone down. So when the maid of honor went up to go speak, the DJ set his microphone down and was like, oh, I finally have a moment of quiet and of silence, and just farted.
Oh no! Oh man!
right next to the microphone. And because the maid of honor was up there with the mic, everyone thought it was her.
Okay, that took a complete left turn. I thought it was just like they looked back at him like, really,
No,
dude?
they thought it was the maid of honor. And she just,
no.
bless her heart, she was mortified. And then he was so embarrassed he didn't say anything. So he just kind of let her take the fall for it. And she was so embarrassed. And she tried to play it. She's like, who was that? But that just made everyone think it was her even more.
Bless her heart, man.
And like,
Wait, does she know the DJ?
No, I don't
Oh,
think
he's
so.
a villain.
He doesn't think so.
He's
yeah,
a villain.
he's a villain.
Yeah,
for
he's
sure.
the villain.
But the question is he more or less of a villain than the next DJ that I only got one other wedding story, I think. One other wedding story.
I have one too.
Okay,
I'll
okay.
give
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll piggyback up
Okay,
yours.
go ahead.
So I've been DJing for almost 10 years now.
Okay. Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to remember some of the stuff I've experienced. And I like to have these conversations because you kind of just rekindle things.
Yeah.
There was one wedding I did at a barn venue, and amazing crowd, super lively crowd, very, very charismatic families on both sides. And it was time to do the toast. And a lot of times for weddings, the bridal party is drinking way before they any formalities start. And this maid of honor drank so much. I didn't understand it until it was in the moment, and yeah, they wanted me to do something about it. But anyways, she drank so much. It's time for her to give her speech, and she's the sister, by the way.
Oh no!
So she starts talking, but then she starts going on and on and on. She's rambling, and then she starts talking about stuff that is just so off the wall. So then they're asking me, like, "Hey, you gotta go stop her.
You gotta cut her off. You gotta take a little
you gotta go cut her off. You gotta stop her." And I'm like, me? I was like, I am not doing this. There's no way I'm not doing this. Because the way it was set up, it's like, okay, say if you're the bride, groom, she's right here next to her. There's tables all back here, but it's like they're isolated. So, and there's a camera.
So you have to like walk in front of the
I have
group.
to walk in front of everyone to take this mic away.
No.
And mind you, it was like maybe one of the parents that said this to me. So it's not like everyone else knows, hey guys, DJ's gonna go take this mic from her. So if I go up and grab the mic from her,
it just looks like you're like,
I'm the bad guy. Yeah.
I'm gonna let you finish. What? You just got a Kanye West here.
The best man had the greatest toast of all time. Yeah. Anyways, long story short, the dad, he has the dad thing. He comes and he's like, "Hey, sweetie," and I'm like, so she starts like fighting with him, and she's like, "No, like let me say what I have to say." She's fighting with him. And it's like people are laughing, but it's like, yo, there's no way she's this bad. She ends up taking it super personally, and the toast is over. We do all the dances, dance floor's popping, we're going crazy. This whole time, I haven't seen the sister. I went outside, I think, to grab something during maybe some event they did in the middle of the whole reception. She is boo-hoo crying outside. "You guys hate me. You always treat me like this." And I'm like,
girl.
And anyways,
girl,
they would have pinned that on me. So I'm just glad I wasn't me.
They tried to put you in a situation.
In the crossfire.
Oh no, absolutely not. No.
So yeah, maid of honor situation.
See, that's the thing, is that like there are so many things that go on at events where like it's not necessarily the DJ's fault, but sometimes people just put them in the middle.
They're just,
and it just becomes an impossible situation.
Yep.
Like someone else sent me a story about how they were DJing a wedding.
Okay.
And something was going on with the power. They just wanted to check the circuit breaker really quickly. So they were trying to go to the back and just find, where that would be at this event, at this venue, because they couldn't find the...
Yeah, that's normal. I do that all the time.
Yeah. As they're looking in closets, hear that there are people back there and stumbles upon the groom with the maid of honor. Like hours before this wedding starts, like as they're all setting up.
Oh my gosh, bro.
They obviously they're like, you can't say anything, you can't tell anybody. If you say anything, they know he's there.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Okay.
they know he's there, and you can't say anything, you're gonna ruin the wedding. And he's like, "Why are you getting married, man? You done what?" And then he had to decide whether or not he was going to say something.
All right.
And he ended up not.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think the right answer would have been? I personally, but I would have said something. But I also know that you don't know what his financial situation is. Does he need that job? Would he be able to still get paid? I don't know.
It's bottom line, it's a conflict of your morals and your business.
I always put morals first. But I know not everybody does.
It's just bottom line. It sucks because it's you don't want to be that guy. But I think you would only be that guy to those two. I think everyone else would be like, thank you.
Yeah.
Because in reality...
That saves her
It was a lie. You know, and who knows how long this has been happening.
Exactly. And how long it would continue to happen. And then
After, yeah.
and then once you get kids involved, like it becomes even messier. Like, yeah, I always, sometimes even to a fault, I always put personal, friends, and morals before business.
Yes.
And I know not everyone does that, and it's okay. And I'm not saying that anyone who does is a horrible human. That's my preference.
I try to separate them, you know, because it's kind of hard with certain professions to put one above another.
Yes.
But I try to separate them. If there comes a time where I have to, you know, place my morals above them, you know, I think I'll in hope I would do my best.
Right, exactly. But you know, it's very easy to be on the outside looking in and saying, oh, I would do X, Y, Z. But you know, actually being there in the moment is very different. Like people can have experience, or people can have ideas on, well, if I was that teacher, I would have, or if I was that parent, or if I was that teacher. Like you don't actually know unless you've lived it, and you could think, oh yeah, I would respond in this manner. But you never actually know until you are
don't
there.
Until you're in the moment, until the light's on you.
And you know, it's just people putting DJs in really bad positions, and it makes them look bad or good, and it's not really their fault. Or someone else sent me another one.
Okay.
And this poor DJ, he was hired for a high school prom.
Okay.
And he was getting everything ready, you know, making sure everything was appropriate, like minor friendly, like things like that, no explicit. And they were told, hey, we want you to play this one song. I think it was Whiskey in a Jar by Metallica.
Okay.
And we want you to dedicate it to this kid. Yeah, no problem. Can absolutely do that.
Okay.
So time comes for him to play that song, and he grabs the microphone. He's, hey, we're about to play this song for this kid. Why don't we bring him up to the front? And this is dedicated to him. Like, we definitely want to. He doesn't know what he's being honored for.
Make a moment for it.
He just knows, like, we're supposed to honor. Well, the crowd starts getting very upset, and people start yelling at him, cussing him out. The school didn't tell him that this was a student who passed in a car crash a month ago, and they were trying to honor him and memorialize him.
Oh,
and so, but no one told him. So when he was like, hey, bring him up, he just looked like a complete jerk and traumatized all his school friends. Everyone's mad at him, but no one how is he supposed to know?
You can't save face. This is the thing is, oh, they didn't tell me. It's like, and you could say anything and no one's gonna believe you because you just went off the deep end.
Right. And like once you cross that line, you're dying.
I feel so bad.
It's so unfortunate.
And kids are ruthless. Mm-hmm. I mean, you know this person.
Oh, yeah.
Kids are ruthless.
Not nice
kids
sometimes.
are relentless. They're ruthless.
Exactly.
And I'll just piggyback off that really quick.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is, it's not a funny story, but it's like one of those things.
Well, that one wasn't either.
Yeah. But it's just like an awareness thing. Obviously, this DJ had no awareness, but I don't know if you've ever seen that clip of that. It's like a prom homecoming, and they're doing the dances, the slow dances. And it's a boy and a girl, and the girl's in a wheelchair.
Oh, I haven't seen this.
So he goes, and they're going to dance. He plays Ed Sheeran, and the song starts, when your legs don't work like they used to. And everybody was just like...
And they picked that song?
No, he picked that song.
The DJ picked this song? No! Oh my gosh!
It went super viral. I thought you might have seen it.
Now that you say it, it's ringing a bell.
Yeah.
No.
I feel bad laughing, but it's just one of those things where it's like
you have to think about
and read the room. Yeah, man. I don't know.
Oh my gosh!
It's just little moments like that where the DJ just could be the bad guy.
Yes.
Be the bad guy.
Yes. My mind is blown for a moment. Or like there's even not just people making him the bad guy, but there's having a bad situation or even like an irresponsible client can cost DJ so much.
Yeah, it happens all the time.
And your equipment is not cheap.
Nope.
The turntables, all the speakers, like the lights, everything. Mm-hmm. It costs a lot of money. And I know a little bit about like what the lights and some of the equipment cost. It's not cheap, guys.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's not cheap. So someone sent me a story about how actually I have two relevant stories. Okay. One guy sent me a story. He wanted to become a DJ. He was working on advertising for so long and finally got his first gig.
Okay.
Someone said, hey, we have a rave going on. We would love for you to DJ. He's like, well, this is my first time. I just want to make sure you're comfortable. Yeah. You're going to be perfect for this rave. Cool. So he gets to the address of this rave, and it's at a YMCA.
Okay.
And he's like, I don't think this is what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So he goes and sees that the YMCA set up this little stage for him. Okay, that was really nice. So he sets things up, is like, I'm sure it's going to be great. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Within the first 30 minutes is, doing all the DJ things, like trying to get the crowd pumped up,
100%.
Jumping up and down, fist pumping the air, and the stage just collapses.
Oh, no.
They did not set it up right. They did not set it up properly. It was not sturdy. And he was okay, but so much of his equipment was just destroyed because, it either fell or had something fall on it or took a tumble and then kept rolling. And then, like, the kids who were all jumping stepped on something. Like, so much of his equipment was destroyed. And then the YMCA people came out and are yelling at him like, what happened? What? And he's like, what do you mean what happened? You set up this stage. What happened with the stage? This is a safety liability.
Yeah.
And the YMCA people, one, did not want to refund him any of the equipment, did not want to pay for anything, none of the damages, anything. But they were more upset that then, like, their little event for the kids was now ruined because he didn't have the equipment to keep it going. Like, so much of his equipment was damaged. He was now like, I need to go and get myself checked out to make sure I'm not hurt. And their priority was, well, what about the event? Well, my guy, this is a person. This is a human being.
First, let's have the DJ read the room. That's just, what event do you think is going to happen now?
Yeah. And it's absolutely wild. And it's just like, it goes to show that there are so many people when they're hired, DJs, for example, like what we're talking about, that like clients just kind of view them as like service or objects, like a human being.
Yeah, 100%.
That was just hurt because of your negligence. That's so not okay.
It's so strange, man. I don't know. I've worked a lot of jobs, and I've worked a lot of serving jobs as a waiter. Mm-hmm. So I've seen firsthand how some people treat people when it comes to feeling like an object.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind. It's like, okay, where do you come from, or what do you do, or where have you been hiding in your entire life where you just don't know how to interact with another person? It's crazy.
Exactly. It doesn't make any sense. And then something else where, like, again, just a really terrible situation that someone put the DJ in, and there's not even necessarily like a bad guy or a good guy. Like, this is a very like chaotic, neutral kind of story where it just sucks for everybody. But so there was a DJ where he and a couple of DJ buddies kind of created a company where, they are sharing equipment. They will rotate off who will take the jobs.
Absolutely.
Like, it's a very, like, they love the system. They love how it works. Yeah. So the guy who used the equipment last was about to go out of town, said, hey, I have everything in my truck. It's parked at my house or at my apartment, or it's parked wherever I live.
Yeah.
I'm leaving you the keys so that you can go get whatever you need. But I just left it there so that it was in a safe, secure spot that, like, not a lot of crime goes on in this area. No one's going to break into the truck. Like, it'll be fine. Mm-hmm. And you can just go get whatever you need.
Okay.
So we did. Well, I guess there was a neighbor who knew who the truck belonged to and just saw this random person that they didn't know going through their neighbor's truck and taking out very expensive equipment and very expensive DJ things. And they called the police. Well, police didn't get there before he left, so instead the neighbor followed him to the event so that the police could meet them there. Not that the person in the car knew it was like an event or anything. They just thought that they were going back to the guy's house.
Yeah.
So then when the DJ pulls up to the event and the client is waiting outside, the client just sees the DJ pull up with 8 different police officers following them, saying, hey, what are you doing? Stop, freeze. We got to ask you a bunch of questions. And the DJ is just as confused as the client, but the client, like, just thinks, oh, my guy.
Who did I hire?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
Who did I hire? What's going on? And then, like, has to explain, I actually don't know what's happening. And, like, it's one of those things where, what would you do in that moment, Like, the neighbor genuinely was concerned that their neighbor was being robbed.
Not on my watch.
The DJ was genuinely, like, just minding their own business. The client, what would you think? Most people would think the worst. So it's one of those things where, like, is it fair that it happened? No.
Yeah.
Would most people be concerned if they thought their neighbor was getting robbed?
Yeah.
Probably.
Especially if there's no crime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Especially if it's like a pretty safe area. It's one of those things where, like, it's so unfair and it's like chaotically neutral in a way that, like, no one's really the jerk, kind of. But that severely impacted, like, what if that client then turned around and went on Yelp and was like, don't worry about it. I don't want you to come to my event.
Yeah.
I don't know who you are. And
He
then went
showed
on
up
Yelp.
with-
Like, he showed up and got arrested. Like, don't hire this guy. Like, that's so unfortunate.
100%.
And it's one of those things where, does that happen often? Hopefully not. But it's still a very unfortunate situation that then is going to impact this guy's career.
Yeah.
Because DJs just have to have this expensive equipment, and it's easier and more cost effective to share it.
Yeah. Share equipment, share gigs, share the company, the there's just so many layers to it. But
Right.
that's an anomaly. That does not happen.
Right. Exactly. And a lot of these stories that we're telling, they don't, like, not every DJ is falling off of
No.
a stage.
Yeah.
A lot of them are not, like, and we talk about this a lot in a lot of episodes. Most of our interactions with customers, clients, parents, whatever, are neutral.
Normal, yeah.
You know? And of course, then you get, like, really awesome experiences. But it's the bad ones that can sometimes really damage our careers and really create harmful stereotypes about people in those jobs. And, like, that's what we're here to raise awareness about.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just one drop of oil in the water, and all of a sudden the whole thing is a mixture.
Yeah.
That's like the Spider-Man meme. It's like she's pointing at him and the officer's pointing at him.
Or The Office. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that so much. Have you had any experiences in your job where you're like, we're like, whether it be colleagues or employers, clients, whatever, who are just like, this is making my job so much harder than it needs to be?
Oh man, I'm trying to dig. I've had some events like that at Applebee's, where again we're at an Applebee's.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
that serious.
Yeah.
You know? And some people have taken it really serious.
I love that. This is an Applebee's.
Yeah, like, come on, man. This is your friendly neighborhood Applebee's. Let's keep it that way. I'm trying to think of another. I did have an event that I did, and this is when I started to catch some traction on TikTok. So this is 2021. Things are starting to open up again, and I got offered to DJ an event in Vegas. It was like
so cool.
Yeah, my first time in Vegas. It was this TikTok meetup. So I'm like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm DJing for TikTok and whatever the case is. Whole time it wasn't TikTok themselves.
Oh.
Yeah. It was some group of people that wanted to do an event for people.
For TikTokers.
For
Okay.
TikTokers. Exactly.
Okay.
But at the time, I had a pretty decent following. I think I had maybe like 200,000 on at the time.
Awesome.
Anyways, they booked me for the event, and we agreed on a price. We agreed on all the things, the equipment rentals, all the stuff, insurance, all these things. At least I thought so.
Right.
Right. So then I get there. I DJ the event. The event was kind of strange. It was a very off the wall event. They had an Elvis Presley impersonator and they had other TikTokers that they were like, oh, we have this guy, he has 2 million followers, and everyone's like, oh, and you know, it was very weird, just the energy that was going on. Anyways, after the event, you know, I'm trying to get paid, I'm trying to get my money,
Right.
And I go to their hotel room to talk to the guy about the money, and I think he shorted me like a few $100s, and I'm just like, oh, what is this? He's like, oh, well, you know, we had to pay for the insurance, we had to do this. And I'm like, that's not what we agreed on. And he's like, well, yeah, well, I had to pay for it. He's like, you know, so I'm pissed.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, this is not what we talked about. So I go talk to one of the other guys that set the whole thing up, and I'm telling him the whole situation. And he's like, oh no. So he's kind of in a rut. He's distraught, not knowing what to do. And essentially what ended up happening is they came in and they gave me the money I was owed, and then like an extra $100.
As they should.
And they I guess full circle moment. The following year they wanted to do another event, and they wanted me to DJ it again. I did such a great job, but they're like, hey, we cut ties with this guy because
Yeah.
So I've had moments, yeah, for sure. I've had moments like that. It's kind of hard to sit back and think of all the times that it's happened, because for every maybe 25, 30 events I've done, maybe you get one little
Exactly.
But
Yes.
at the top of my head, I can't think of anything. I'm lying. I'm lying. but this wasn't on them. This was 100% on me.
Okay,
I was still, fresh legs.
Everyone makes mistakes, and that happens, and that's okay.
And, okay, so, again, I started at Applebee's. This was my bread and butter, or whatever the case is.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do they have? I know some places have, like, specific, like, roll, like Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, like Olive Garden breadsticks or something.
Yeah, their breadsticks is better.
I know they have appetizers. Drinks. They have really cheap drinks. I have Applebee's in years. Anyways, I remember that this was like my first big party. It was a graduation party.
Oh, cool.
And I'm like, I'm super excited about it. I set up, I get all my music ready. I drive to the event. I'm there. And it's not quite literally until I start playing music that I realize I don't have my laptop charger with me.
Oh no.
Yeah. I must be like a couple years in, maybe less than 2 years in DJing, but this was like one of my first big parties. And I left my charger. I live an hour and 30 minutes away, at least with traffic, but it was an hour and 30 minutes both ways.
Oh no.
So I'm like, I don't know what to do. Again, the guy who got me my gigs at Applebee's, my mentor, he got me that gig. He was DJing Applebee's that night. So I sent my friend to go back home to get a charger. But again, it was an hour and a half away. So he's like, dude, we're not going to make it. So he goes to my cousin that lives kind of in the area, maybe 20 minutes away. He gets her laptop charger. He comes back. I'm like, okay, we're good. Laptop charger doesn't fit. That Apple charger doesn't fit. I'm trying to fix it, whichever way. Yes.
Just go. Maybe if I finagle it a little bit.
It did not work. And I think it got to a point where my laptop died. If I remember correctly, my laptop died. So what ended up happening is that the guy who got me the gig, his name's Johnny. Johnny had to come and take over the gig for me. And it was like, it just felt like I got, sunned, he didn't do it intentionally, but he came, he's apologized to the guy because it's the dad for his daughter's graduation. He's super upset, which again goes back to what we were talking about with the clients, just not being understanding. They see things one way, that's it. He's super mad. Johnny's talking him down. Johnny sets up, and they get the party started right away, 0 to 100, boom.
Oh.
And he's like, this means you have to go DJ at Applebee's. So I got my head down. I'm just like, oh, here I go. I go DJ at Applebee's. And then now looking back, it was such a crazy thing. I get to Applebee's. One of the bartenders at Applebee's has a laptop charger that fits.
No.
I was like, this is where I was meant to be. This is where I was meant to be.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah.
You know what? It happens. Like, people have off days sometimes. And, you try to limit those as best as possible.
Yes.
But, like, people are human beings.
100%.
And, just like you would like someone to show you some grace when you're having an off day. Mm-hmm. That means that you also have to show people some grace. And, like, you can be frustrated that things aren't going your way. Absolutely. But you don't need to sit there and, like, scream your head off
Destroy
at people.
them.
Yeah, you don't have to, like, wish harm on them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, that's absolutely ridiculous.
Especially if it's like a particular thing, right? Because it was a laptop charger, but it wasn't like my laptop charger. I don't have the right speakers. I showed up looking crazy. In instances like that, it's like, okay, buddy, there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But if it's one thing, police are coming behind me. Hey, I didn't know that this was
exactly.
This was
I had no idea that they were following me.
Yeah.
I didn't know that someone thought I was stealing that equipment. Like, this is my equipment. I helped pay for it. Like, you could have, and of course they had to call the friend and verify, and they did. But it's some things are just out of your control that you cannot help, and it impacts your job. But do you think that there are any, like, major misconceptions? I mean, we already talked about people thinking you just hit the play button. But do you think there are any other misconceptions about DJs that the public either just doesn't know or doesn't understand or anything like that?
Man, play button is huge.
Uh-huh.
I think that's one of the easiest ones. That is very easy. The job, I would say, is simple. Mm-hmm. You are playing music for people, but to separate a regular DJ and someone that is going to have you thinking, this is a great DJ, or I'm going to remember that night, or I want to get this guy's information, he was so good. Those are two different things.
Absolutely.
I think another big misconception, at least in my experience, is that DJs are just out here just hooking up with everybody. Like just, wherever they go, whatever they do, They're just out here, and that couldn't be any further from the truth in my experience.
Okay.
Now, do some DJs maybe try to leverage their attention because, all eyes are on them? Maybe,
yeah.
Possibly.
That would make sense.
But when people think it happens to me, I'm just like, no, you are very wrong. At least in a lot of in-person events.
Yeah.
People, don't get me wrong, people will send me messages online sometimes and they're just like, hey, like, I think you're super cute or which is, even that doesn't happen very often. Or they'll try to talk about music to kind of like segue their way into things.
Yeah, people, they'll make their move. They'll make their shot. Yeah.
But overall, it doesn't happen, or maybe it's because I am very tunnel vision when I'm DJing. I do not drink. I am, very professional. It's like I flip a switch. And I'm very involved, engaged with my events. Maybe that's why I'm not.
I'm focused.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm not paying any energy or attention to what's happening around me.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah. But I think that's probably a really big misconception for sure.
So you actually made me think of one last story that someone sent me. And it's not the same, but you'll see where the ADHD brain makes the connections, man. So this DJ had a weekly gig at this one club, and it's usually pretty packed. But this one night, it was just very slow, and he just couldn't figure out why. And even the bartenders were like, something feels off. So in the middle of the set, like an hour or so in, he can hear the door to the back room, because he's like right on stage, right with the back room right next to him. He hears the door to the back room open, and he looks around and sees just a completely nude man just sitting there with the door open, looking around, looking very confused, and is just looks and then shuts the door. And then the DJ looks at the bartenders, and they're like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So apparently what happened was the owner of the club told the managers to shut the club down for the long weekend because he was going to have a swingers party. But the managers forgot to hit send on that email. So the bartenders, the wait staff, the DJs, no one else got the memo and just showed up. And that's why it was so dead, because the owners put on like the website and social media as like closed for the weekend. So it was just the regulars that came and showed up. And no one else knew. But yeah. They were just in the back having a grand old time.
What?
And they were about to come out and I guess get some food or get something to drink at the bar, because the owner was like, yeah, I have a bar out there. And then was like, oh, nope, and just shut the door back.
What do you do? Like what do you do at that heat? All right, guys, I guess we're not open today. What happens after that?
I don't know. And I have no idea what happened next, but that's a good point of what would you do? You just keep on going? Do you close immediately?
I don't get paid enough for this.
Yes! I say that a lot. That's how most of my skits end. I don't get paid
enough for this. Oh man, that is insane. I don't think I have any stories.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
Yeah,
you have to remember, I get hundreds of stories, and I'll pick 5 to 10.
Okay.
So again, it kind of goes on the theme of most interactions in most professions are very neutral.
Yeah.
Very neutral.
Definitely comes back to that.
But it's those few that stand out really can impact the career, can deter a career, can derail a career. They still matter.
Yeah.
Even though they're a smaller percentage, how you speak to someone, that can stay with you.
Oh, 100%.
I still think about some of the meanest and nastiest emails parents have sent me. I'm not even a teacher anymore. I haven't taught in years. Yeah. And sometimes I'm like, Miss Johnson really hurt my feeling that one day. And I don't it matters. The point isn't that there's a smaller percentage of those scenarios. The point is that those scenarios are so wild. Mm-hmm. No one gets paid enough to deal with those things, even if it's every once out of a blue moon.
Absolutely.
And are you going to pay for my therapy? I didn't think so.
It doesn't stick with you. It sticks with me.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Just because for you, you had a bad day and you yelled at someone and you forget about it the next day, but you don't know how long that will stay with someone. And so, raising awareness about how some of these professionals are treated is just so important, to just be mindful next time of, don't add to their trauma, because we all have some.
I agree. 100% I agree. I try to be as mindful as I can when engaging with people that might be having a bad day.
Yeah.
or negative time because one, you don't know what they're going through, but two, you don't know if you would react the same way to what they're going through.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like my bottom line with that.
I like that a lot. Well, before we go, are there any last minute tips, tricks, advice, anything that you want to leave either for future DJs or something that you really want people to know about DJs or anything along those lines?
I think some tips and tricks would be, first off, make sure you're posting content. Because in today's day and age, if you want to start to get your first gig or your 10th gig, whatever the case is, post content, build your awareness, be as well versed in music as you can. And I think the bottom line, just be unique, separate yourself from everyone else. Everyone's just pressing buttons.
Yeah.
So, do something unique to separate yourself. Yeah. If you've seen my page, I'm very energetic and I get comments on it all the time. I love that he's DJing, but he's having a good time. He's having so much fun and he's dancing. And I'm like, you should see me in person. Because if you go on my Instagram now, there's a picture of me upside down in midair because I'm breakdancing at my events. And I something that's, it's so unique to me that not a lot of other people do, but it brings a unique experience. So maybe you're very good on the mic, or maybe you tell jokes. Who knows? Whatever it is, be that person.
I like that.
And you'll separate yourself.
I love that so much. That's so sweet. And I have one more question. This might even be the most important question that I ask you.
Give it to me.
I'm humbly requesting that I be bestowed upon a DJ name.
Okay.
For when I'm in the car and my friends have decided I get the privilege of the auxiliary cord.
They have
dubbed me.
Okay. Let's see.
I'm very short. I'm a crazy cat lady.
Okay.
From New York. Live in North Carolina.
Teacher.
Former teacher. Yeah.
Ex-teacher, Okay. Big Apple. DJ Big Apple.
I love that. DJ Big Apple out.
Big Apple.
I love. Okay. Yeah. I mean, put that on
Big
t-shirt.
Apple. Yeah.
I love that.
New York teacher.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that just made my whole day. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today. And
Absolutely.
thank you guys for hanging out with us as well. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and hope to see you all next week. Bye, my lovelies. Mwah.